So now we start getting into some development of elevations for buildings. This is again an early concept sketch. This is the north elevation of Los Feliz Farm and Dime. But you can see that what we're doing now is we're developing a sense of the scale. We're also referencing images from either existing or historical photographs. So we always can check ourselves that we're really creating a place in time with this particular spirit of the architecture that's going to be believable. And we did this for every facade as we marched down the street, and we did a number of large-scale just facade models to really check ourselves that we were, detailing things appropriately.
And I would say too that architectural compression is something that we've used as well, because as you know, on Main Street, the facades are fairly small. If you really step back and look at them, they're romanticized, but they're smaller than an actual building would be. And here, in order to achieve the look and the density that we want, Coulter's done a magnificent job of doing exactly that.
The problem is a little bit different here because we had existing buildings that we were putting, we're extending, but we're also putting new facades. And so the vertical geometry was the challenge in terms of we had a box that we had to cover, but we had to give it a Disney scale. So we went through a lot of hard work and iterations to bring that scale down to the Disney scale, yet still do the job of, adequately cladding all the buildings. This is again part of the Elias and Co. facade. This is the east facade, just south of Hyperion Bridge. Again, you can see some of the source inspiration for some of the decoration that's going to go on to this elevation.
As you can see here, we've got thousands and thousands of hours of work in this, and it's important to say that because we're kind of doing a little bit of everything. We are creating a city street, a number of kind of an amalgam of city streets that have been, seemingly built over time, and creating those layers and creating the different hands of the architects of that period, and what we're doing there. And I'll tell you again, it's the nth degree. It's going, that extra 1,000 yards to deliver that detail. And I will say, I was joking about the construction fences, and I'll joke until we open. But so when you do walk by these construction fences that are going up in this area, you have firsthand knowledge now and can spread it around, I hope, of what really is going on back there and why those fences are up and why it's so important, because we have to go all the way with every single little detail from research, inception, all the way through design, all the way through construction and delivery, to bring that to you. So that's why we're saying,
It's a challenge with an operating theme park to do that, and believe me.
We appreciate your patience.
Yeah.
But I'll go back to one slide. I want to talk a little bit about Elias and Co.
Checking out.
Perfect. So this is really sort of our flagship store, Elias and Co. So again, this is a sketch that Ray did, looking from the fountain, and we took the inspiration from early Los Angeles department stores for this facade right here, which is going to, it's our emporium. And so we developed a lot of the architecture based on some of the early Los Angeles department stores, but it's not any one of them in particular.
And an interesting bit of trivia, Hollywood Boulevard in California Adventure, the buildings there are representations of actual buildings. So if you go into Hollywood, you'll see some of those buildings in full size, full scale, and you will recognize them. Buena Vista Street, as Coulter alluded to, is bits and pieces, but you won't recognize any of them because it's an amalgam of.
So we started developing color elevations, and this is on the existing restroom facade. The restrooms are here. This facade is completely rebuilt. The lockers are here. This is the J.J. Newberry facade inspiration piece, which you'll see a detail of a little bit later. This is Mortimer's Market. It was like an open-air market. It was based on a building that was on 6th Avenue, and it was torn down in the 1930s in Los Angeles. Had incredible detail. You'll see a little bit of that, and we're recreating it all. And then further down the street, we've got Julius Katz and Sons going down to the candy shop, and then we've got the Fiddler Pipe and Practical Cafe in the background. But again, you can see color, there's material, there's a lot of textures, mock-up panels, and samples that we're putting into all of this. This is to the other side of the street. Again, you can see the starting with the north. Oswald's gas station is not shown in this one, but we've got this is the guest services and first aid. This is Los Feliz 5 and Dime, again a cross-section through the Hyperion Bridge, and this is the Elias & Co. facade along with the jewelry store. The candy shop's being moved and the jewelry store is going into its place. And on the side of the west side of the street, we're expanding the bakery. So where the train was, we're putting in an additional 80 indoor seats at Fiddler Pfeiffer and Practical Cafe. And Clarabelle's Hand Scoop Ice Cream is getting a lot larger. So the ice cream shop will be coming back and better. I got several complaints yesterday about, I was very disappointed when I went up. Sorry.
Yeah.
And we do color boards. We do really extensive color theory. Ray and I had some very interesting conversations with Katie Olson, she's the color queen. I don't know if any of you know Katie, but she's great. But it's really difficult when you're putting together, an idealized version of a Los Angeles street, but it's a theme park, and you want to make it a happy place. And a lot of color starts going on. There's a lot of adjacency issues, and Ray and I were out with Katie once on a 103-degree day with 2x2 color panels, making sure they worked both in sun and shade. And
yeah.
I think the shady conversations were a lot longer than the sunny ones.
Well, we know a fair amount about color, and Katie is really the queen of color. So when we were looking at color for the Carthay Circle, Katie had a color chip, and Coulter and I both looked at it, and we both shook our heads like this. She painted a panel, we went outside, looked at it in the sun, and we both shook our heads like this.
It was amazing.
So there's always something to learn. This is an interior shot of one of the shops. In order to bring the fidelity of the outside, we're going to that excruciating degree of detail on the outside. It's very important for us, for credibility's sake, and to tell our story, to bring that to the inside. So all of the shops that you see on Buena Vista Street will have full finished interiors that reflect and represent the exterior facades. So you will see the same kind of detail that you see here, that you see on Main Street Disneyland, you'll see in those shops, as opposed to what we currently have now. So we're working very hard to make sure that all of this ties together in terms of storytelling and making this a credible place. The other thing about this street that we didn't really address is that, like the Emporium at Disneyland, both sides of our street will have drive aisles through the shops, so that in addition to entering the shops through the front doors, you'll be able to access them through an aisle that runs parallel to Buena Vista Street that's within the shop, so that if you want to stay cool and stay indoors and enjoy air conditioned comfort, you'll be able to do that. And we think this is going to allow this park to be much more flexible and much more friendly to our guests.
Another thing we did about the shops, the interior to the exterior, the current entry to California Adventure did not have what I would call a transparent retail envelope. Typically you go into walking along a street, you're going to be able to see through the merchandise displays into the shop. We didn't have that, so we're bringing all that back. We've got a lot of great merchandise displays, but also we have a lot of transparency into the shop. So there is a connection from the exterior of the buildings to the interiors. This slide here is just showing a little bit about what we're doing with the detail. We've got the tile factory of local. There's a lot of history to it. They're building mostly all of our decorative tiles, are making them all. And we have one interior designer, Terry, the tile queen. She is...
there are a lot of queens that imaginary.
A lot of queens. We're just,
Oh, and those queens.
well, I guess we say, yeah. Yeah, I got it. Okay. Only a D23 Okay, the tile expert, the passionate person. Okay, she has taken upon herself as a mission to organize and really track all the decorative tile on the street. There's like thousands of pieces.
And there's over 400 different tile types, and most of them are handmade. So
And it does have, as Coulter was saying, the tile experts, the people that, the artisans actually are working on these tile pieces, building them, have ties back to the 1920s Los Angeles and the tile work that you see there. So we have a number of those instances in Buena Vista Street and the whole entry where there are ties back to the same artisans, the same buildings, and all of that here, which you're going to feel when you walk in the park. You're going to feel that sense. It really will truly be a completely different space and a completely different experience when you walk into the new Buena Vista Street.
There's one little image I just want to point out, because this guy here, that is the sculpt. I mentioned all the sculpting that we're doing for the decorative detail. That is the sculpt that's going over the doorway to the candy shop. That's the mold that we're pulling the tool off of. So we've got the plate with the the beehive and the two bears trying to get their treat over the entry to.
and that's one of how many custom pieces.
The architectural ornamentation, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about, is amazing. It really is. If you're remodeling your house, wouldn't you wish people would do this much research and design on your house?
Well, getting back to the stories again, Coulter, in addition to color, tile is another thing. When we first started this project, we looked at a lot of tile, and somebody, project manager, somebody asked, who's going to be responsible for that tile? And Coulter was like, we can do it. Boy, were we wrong. So we have Terry Tile, who's fantastic, and this is quite an effort, but it's a fabulous thing.
Yeah, that was true. There's a lot of you learn a lot, and the thing about Buena Vista Street that's really convincing to us, the design team, that it's going to be great, is the amount of work that it takes to get it done. It's like, we were calling it the tar pit job. It just kind of like glommed on you and sucks you in because it's so vast. And the tile is just one thing. The architectural ornamentation is another. And we've pre-bought all this stuff. I've been spending a lot of time with the vendor actually, proving all of the ornamentation. A lot of it's already in the warehouse ready to go because we don't want to keep the construction fences up any longer than we have to. So this stuff's going to come out in a big hurry once we really take the street down, I guess next September or so.
Here's the interior of Clarabelle's. You can see the tile has sort of an ice cream motif. And sometimes when we pick the tile, in this case, I told Terry, I said, make it look like you can lick it. Because we want it to be lickable. In our candy shop, we picked sort of a Necco wafer tile that has that sort of dusty color.
You got to tell the real story about the Necco wafers. There was a real bunch of Necco wafers that we put on the conference table and go, look at this color palette, it's perfect. That's what actually. All right.
Oh, you're smarter than that. No, but really, this is a fabulous thing. You can see some of the graphics. If I can back up for a second, you can see some of the graphics starting to appear on these images. Our marquees are being developed right now, so we don't have a lot of representations here. I would like to address the names of the shops, though. Some people might be curious because we've got Disney character references in most of them, or Disney locations that were, and street names that were relevant to Walt's early years in Los Angeles. Kingswell Photo Supply, Los Feliz 5 and Dime. Those are areas. Kingswell was where one of the first Disney studios was located. Los Feliz is where Walt hung out. So, we're paying homage to those early Disney years here. You may not see characters all over the place, and you won't see it really bombarded with a lot of that, but you will see the names and places that may have influenced Walt in his early years here. But we really wanted to make an allusion to that so that we're paying respect to those early years in every way that we can.
And as an example, maybe he did walk by Clarabelle's Ice Cream and brought his daughters there and thought, Clarabelle, that's kind of a fun name. Or Fiddler Fifer and Practical, of course, for the cafe. And I think those are nice, it's kind of almost chicken and egg too, But that's okay because these names are familiar to us as well, and they have a certain resonance as well. So you're really going to enjoy that too, I think.
And we didn't really want to introduce a lot of characters into these spaces, literally, because if Walter arrived in 23, they wouldn't have been developed yet. So, we wanted to really respect that as well and be genuine with our story. So,
Best looking restroom facade. So again, it's just like, that's just one of the tile murals. I mean, and we've got tile murals at the guest services, at the Los Feliz 5 and Dime, and we went through a lot of work on those murals to get them right. And, this is going back to the facade that was inspired by J.J. Newberry, but we totally redid it. But this again is the tool for every one of those panels that the arrow's pointing to. And then you can get a detail of right next to it. This is a Mortimer's Market. This is an open air fruit market. We can go in and buy drinks and water and small items. But this is all based on that 6th Avenue shopping room.
And we will have window graphics occasionally in some of the windows, so when we open, be sure to look for those. So they'll also be part of our storytelling effort. Okay, this is fun. Our candy store, Trolley Treats, has a display window, and we're going to pay homage to an attraction that was never built, Big Rock Candy Mountain. It was designed for the site that Storybook Land occupies. It was a concept. You see the sketch there on the left. They actually built a model of it, which, as I understand it, pieces of it still exist, but at one time they were actually using real candy and frosting, and it slowly got eaten. So that attraction was never built. I think that Walt decided against that. However, we're going to pay a little bit of homage to it in our candy store by building this operating model that is not a literal representation of the early design, but it's a metaphor. And the idea here is that it's 8 feet wide and 5 feet tall, and I think it's got some operating trolleys on it that'll be circling around. And I think it's every kid's dream. And our goal here is to have this kind of passive detail and display that as a small child or even as an adult, when you look at it, you dream, you won't forget it, and it'll be that kind of passive, iconic moment in the park that we all enjoy. It may not be a ride, it may not be a big attraction, but it's something that's fun to look at and something that pays a little bit of acknowledgement to our past. So we're pretty excited about this as well. It's currently under development.